She went silent. Good. Now the power shifts. If you are like most men, her silence triggers panic. You start replaying every message, typing long explanations, sending little check-ins and pretending you are fine. Inside you are bargaining. Maybe she is busy. Maybe she did not see it. Maybe if you show more interest, she will respond. That's the trap. Chasing her during silence teaches her that your attention is free and your time has no value. Here is the shift. Stoicism turns silence into signal, not punishment. Instead of reacting, you reset. You stop feeding the void. You put your energy back into your routine, your body, your mission. You communicate one thing without a single extra word. I am a man who values himself. In this video, I will show you exactly how to do it. You will learn the psychology behind her silence, the mistakes that kill attraction, and the disciplined response that makes her feel the price of pulling away. We will cover timing, tone, what to stop doing immediately, and what to do instead, so your presence becomes scarce, steady, and magnetic. This is not revenge. It is respect. For yourself first, then for the connection. If she returns, she meets a calmer, stronger you. If she does not, you are already winning. Breathe, reset, and let discipline lead your moves. Let's get into it. Number 1. The psychology behind her silence. When a woman goes silent, most men hear rejection. They panic, overanalyze, and start chasing clarity that never comes. But silence isn't always rejection, sometimes it's strategy. Women understand something that most men forget: attention is currency. And when she withholds it, she's not just disappearing, she's measuring your response. Let's talk about why this happens. When a woman pulls back, it's often not to end things, it's to test emotional contrast. She wants to feel whether your energy collapses without hers. If it does, she knows she holds control. But if you remain steady, calm, and unbothered, she starts to question her own power. That's when curiosity turns into attraction again. Here's a real example. James, 52, had been seeing Melissa, 49, for about 3 months. Things were going smoothly, long talks, quiet dinners, a bit of chemistry. Then suddenly she went cold. No reply to messages. Cancelled plans. Most men would have started reaching out more, asking what went wrong. But James had learned from experience and from a bit of Stoic practice that reaction gives away control. So he stayed silent too. He didn't post cryptic quotes, didn't text her to check in. He went to the gym, spent more time on his work, and stayed focused. 3 weeks later, Melissa texted him first. "Hey stranger, how've you been?" That's not coincidence. That's psychology. His silence created emotional friction, and friction creates intrigue. When she realized his world didn't orbit around her, her perception shifted. Suddenly, he became a mystery again. Here's the deeper truth: people value what they can lose. When you stop offering your attention freely, others have to earn it. That's the price of silence, and it's powerful when it's intentional. From a Stoic perspective, this is emotional discipline in action. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Her silence, outside event. Your reaction, entirely yours. Instead of trying to decode her motives, focus on mastering your response. You don't chase, you observe. You don't demand answers, you hold composure. That calmness becomes your message, and it says everything she needs to hear: I'm not shaken. When a woman sees that kind of restraint, she feels 2 things: respect and intrigue. Respect, because you're not begging for validation. Intrigue, because your stillness forces her to wonder what's going on inside you. That's the secret most men miss. Her silence is not a wall, it's an invitation to show strength without words. Now, I'm not saying you should play games or act cold. The goal isn't revenge, it's control. You're showing emotional independence. You're saying through your actions, I'm complete with or without you. And ironically, that's when she often comes back, not because you chased her, but because she feels the difference between a man who reacts and a man who reigns in his emotions. If you've ever experienced this kind of silence, you know how hard it is not to reach out. But that tension you feel, that's growth. That's your mind learning patience, your ego learning humility, and your presence becoming stronger. Remember this, her silence isn't punishment. It's your opportunity to practice control, to stop reacting and start leading. So when she pulls away, breathe. Let her drift. Let your stillness speak louder than her absence. If you've ever felt this shift, write it below. I stay calm. Stay with me, because next we'll uncover the biggest trap men fall into when they react to silence, and how chasing her attention destroys the very attraction she once felt. Number 2. Why chasing her destroys attraction. Let's be honest, when a woman pulls away, the first instinct for most men is to do something. You want to fix it. You want to explain. You want to show her how much you care. But that impulse, that rush to chase, is exactly what kills attraction. Here's why. When you chase someone who's withdrawing, you flip the dynamic completely. You turn calm, masculine presence into anxious pursuit. And no matter how genuine your intention is to her, it feels like pressure. It tells her that your emotional balance depends on her reaction, and that realization instantly drains the attraction she once felt. You see, attraction isn't just about appearance or conversation, it's energy exchange. And energy always flows toward the more grounded person. When she goes cold and you react, you're handing her your power on a silver platter. You're saying, "You decide how I feel." From a Stoic lens, that's the exact opposite of strength. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom isn't about control over her, it's control over your own impulses. Chasing her is emotional slavery disguised as romantic effort. The truth is, people don't value what's always available. When your attention becomes predictable, it loses its impact. What once felt exciting starts to feel desperate. She doesn't need to wonder where you stand, because you've already shown her. You'll always be there, waiting, explaining, hoping. Women are wired to be drawn toward emotional certainty, not dependency. When a man can stand still in her distance, she feels his confidence. When he panics and scrambles, she feels his insecurity. And here's the paradox: the moment you stop chasing, you give her space to start wondering again. Silence breeds curiosity. Curiosity rebuilds tension. And tension is the seed of attraction. In Stoicism, restraint isn't weakness, it's mastery. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That applies perfectly here. When your instinct screams to send that message, to explain your side, to check if she's okay, stop. Ask yourself, is this action driven by strength or fear? If it's fear, hold your ground. The silence will serve you better than words ever could. Chasing her might feel like progress, but it's really regression. Every "hey, just checking in" or "I miss you" text tells her one thing: she still controls your emotional weather. And no one, male or female, feels attraction to what they control. When you stop chasing, you give her the one thing she can't manipulate: your peace. That's what resets everything. She starts to feel the gap. The quiet becomes uncomfortable for her. She starts thinking, did I lose him? And that question, not your words, reignites her curiosity. This isn't a game, it's a discipline. You're not ignoring her to punish her. You're choosing silence to protect your value. Because the man who can stand still in rejection projects power, not bitterness, but presence. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." And bravery in this context is refusing to chase someone who isn't choosing you. It's having the self-respect to let go with grace instead of gripping with fear. So when she pulls back, resist the urge to explain or prove yourself. Step into the quiet. Let your absence speak louder than words ever could. Because the man who doesn't chase attracts. If you understand that, write it below. I don't chase, I attract. Stick with me, because next we'll dive into the hidden power of silence, how the very thing that feels empty to you can make her feel your presence more than ever. Number 3. The power hidden in your silence. Most men see silence as a void, something to fill, to fix, to break. But the truth is, silence is not empty, it's full of information. And when used with discipline, it becomes one of the most powerful tools you have in any relationship. When a woman ignores you, the worst thing you can do is chase after her with words. The best thing you can do is say nothing, not out of anger, but out of mastery. Because silence doesn't mean weakness. It means self-respect. It means control. It means letting your absence create pressure that words never could. Let's look at how this works in real life. Michael, 55, had been seeing a woman named Claire, 51. Things were easy, fun, consistent, until one week she started pulling away. Short replies, delayed texts. Suddenly she was busy. In the past, Michael would have tried to talk it out. Is something wrong? Did I do something? But this time he didn't. He went quiet. Not to play a game, but to hold his ground. He didn't text. He didn't watch her stories. He didn't explain. Instead, he went about his week. Gym work, quiet dinners, focus. After 10 days, she texted, "You've been quiet lately." That's the moment when silence starts to work. Because what she's really saying is, "Why aren't you reacting the way I expected?" Silence shifts the balance of energy. It interrupts her rhythm. It forces her to feel your absence. Psychologically, it triggers a phenomenon called cognitive dissonance. She starts to question her own perception of you. Wait, maybe he didn't care as much as I thought. That uncertainty plants a seed, and that seed grows into curiosity. The longer you stay silent, the more that curiosity expands. It's not manipulation, it's nature. Human beings crave certainty, and when you stop providing it, she starts seeking it again. That's the price of your silence. From a Stoic perspective, this isn't about ego, it's about emotional restraint. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Silence is a lesson learned from the many sufferings of life." In other words, silence is wisdom earned through experience. It's knowing when to step back instead of stepping in. When you remain calm, she feels the contrast. Your quietness becomes the mirror that reflects her own emotions. If she's insecure, it surfaces. If she's testing, it backfires. If she truly values you, she feels the loss more deeply. But here's the key. Silence only works if it's backed by presence. That means you're not sulking, scrolling, or waiting by the phone. You're living, improving, building your world without her validation, because that's when silence stops being passive and starts becoming powerful. For Michael, something changed after that week. Claire reached out again, more softly this time. She suggested coffee. When they met, she said, "I thought you'd be upset, but you seemed fine." He smiled and said, "I was." That calm, grounded response told her everything she needed to know. He wasn't playing her game. He'd mastered his peace. That's the power hidden in silence. It's not revenge, it's revelation. You show her what life feels like without your presence, and you show yourself how strong you can be without her attention. So next time you feel that urge to speak, to fix, to chase, pause. Let your stillness speak. Let her feel what it's like to lose your energy. Because when you stop explaining, she starts remembering. If that hits home for you, type it below. I let silence speak. Stay with me, because next we'll go deeper into how to make her feel the price of losing your presence without saying a single word. Number 4, make her feel the price of losing you. Here's a truth most men never understand. You don't make her feel your worth by telling her how valuable you are. You make her feel it through absence, through silence, through the space you leave behind when you stop chasing, stop explaining, and stop trying to prove your place in her life. When she pulls away, your instinct is to remind her what she's losing. You want to show her your effort, your loyalty, your consistency. But here's the problem. Effort doesn't rebuild attraction. Impact does. And nothing creates more impact than removing your presence from someone who once had easy access to it. You make her feel the price of losing you, not by speaking but by disappearing with dignity. See, women are not drawn to constant availability. They're drawn to contrast the feeling of abundance followed by absence. When you're always there, always responding, she takes your energy for granted. But when you go quiet, when you become the one thing she can't immediately reach, she starts to realize what she's lost. In psychology, this is called emotional withdrawal. It's not manipulation, it's natural balance. The human brain assigns higher value to what it can no longer easily obtain. The more scarce your attention becomes, the more meaningful it feels when it returns. This is where Stoicism aligns perfectly with attraction. Epictetus said, "If someone does not value you, value yourself." That's the mindset you must embody. You don't punish her with silence. You protect your energy with silence. You're not running from her, you're returning to yourself. When you hold that energy, your silence speaks for you. She starts replaying old moments. She scrolls through your messages, noticing how calm you were, how steady. She remembers your tone, your presence, your stability, and realizes it's gone. That's the moment she begins to feel the weight of your absence. But here's the key. Your silence only creates impact if it's paired with evolution. If you disappear and become stagnant, she forgets. If you disappear and grow, she notices. When you return calmer, fitter, more focused, more composed, she sees the shift. That's when curiosity turns into respect. This isn't about revenge, it's about value, realignment. You're reminding her and yourself that your attention isn't free. It must be earned. In Stoic philosophy, emotional detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. It's choosing where to invest your energy and refusing to give it to what doesn't reciprocate. That kind of clarity doesn't just make her feel the loss, it earns you peace. Now, if you're serious about mastering this kind of inner control, the calm, disciplined presence that women feel even in your silence, then this is your next step. Join the Stoic Brotherhood, our private community of men who are rebuilding confidence, emotional balance, and attraction through the timeless principles of Stoicism. Inside, you'll learn how to use silence, presence, and restraint to command respect not just from women but from the world around you. Remember, when you go quiet, don't disappear in bitterness. Disappear into betterment. That's the real difference. She won't miss your words. She'll miss your peace. So the next time she ignores you, don't beg for her attention. Withdraw it. Let her feel the silence that once held warmth. Let her feel the contrast between your presence and your absence. Because when she finally realizes what she's lost, it won't be your voice she remembers. It'll be the calm, grounded energy of a man who never chased what wasn't his to keep. If you understand that, write it below. I walk away with peace. Stay tuned, because next we'll explore how detachment isn't cold. It's the very thing that reignites desire. Number 5. Turning detachment into desire. Here's something most men never understand. Detachment doesn't kill attraction, it creates it. But only when it's real. When your detachment comes from peace, not pain, from choice, not resentment. That's when a woman begins to feel your absence in a way that pulls her back toward you. Let's make this real. David, 56, had been seeing Karen, 53, for about 4 months. Things were going well, until suddenly she began pulling back. The texts got shorter. The energy faded. One night she even said, "I just need space." Old David would have panicked. He would have tried to fix it, asked what was wrong, maybe sent flowers or long messages explaining how he felt. But this time he didn't. He told her calmly, "Take all the time you need." Then he went quiet. Not cold, not distant, just detached, in control of his emotions. That's when things changed. Within 2 weeks, she texted again. "Hey, just checking in. How have you been?" he replied briefly but warmly. "I've been good, thanks." "You?" Her tone shifted completely. Suddenly she was curious again. The silence had done what no argument could. It reignited desire. Why? Because detachment reverses the polarity. It takes you out of pursuer mode and puts you back in your natural masculine frame, calm, self-contained, purposeful. Here's the psychology behind it. Attraction thrives on emotional distance and perceived independence. When you detach, you communicate that your life isn't orbiting her decisions. You're centered in your own path. And that's the kind of energy women find irresistible, not because you're ignoring her, but because you're unshakable. In Stoic terms, detachment is not coldness, it's clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That's the heart of attraction. When a man lives by that truth, his energy changes. He doesn't need attention to feel validated. He doesn't react to withdrawal. He doesn't chase chaos. Instead, he stands still, confident, calm, and composed. The beautiful irony is that when you stop needing her attention, that's when she starts offering it freely. Women can feel when your energy is rooted in peace versus pressure. When you detach with confidence, your presence becomes a mystery again. She wonders why you're calm. She wonders if she lost her influence. And that curiosity becomes the spark of desire. David noticed it himself. When he stopped reaching out, he felt lighter. His mornings were quieter. He started reading again, lifting weights, calling old friends. That's when Karen reached back, not to test him this time, but to reconnect. Because the man who was once chasing her had turned into the man she couldn't stop thinking about. Detachment isn't a tactic, it's transformation. It's what happens when you stop trying to convince anyone of your worth and start embodying it. From a Stoic lens, this is the purest form of masculine energy, calm intensity. The ability to desire without needing, to care without clinging, to let go without losing yourself. So when you feel that pull to fix things, remind yourself real desire doesn't grow in control, it grows in freedom. When you release her, you give her space to feel your absence. And when she does, she'll come back, not because you begged, but because she wants to. Remember, emotional detachment isn't about pushing her away, it's about pulling yourself back to peace, to power, to presence. If this resonates with you, write it below. I choose peace over pressure. Stick with me, because next we'll explore how to rebuild respect after distance without saying a single word. Number 6. The art of rebuilding respect. When a woman loses respect for a man, words can't fix it. You can't explain your way back into respect. You can't argue for it. You can't beg for it. Respect once gone can only be rebuilt through change, not conversation, through action, not apology. This is where most men fail. They try to convince her to see their worth again. They send long texts, justify their feelings, or promise to do better. But here's the truth. When a woman pulls away, she doesn't want your explanation. She wants to feel your shift. Rebuilding respect starts the moment you stop seeking it. When she ignores you, what she's really doing is observing. Watching how you handle rejection, uncertainty, and space. Most men crumble under that pressure. They reach out, they chase, they overcompensate. But the few who stay calm, composed, and detached, they stand out. Because emotional control is rare, and rare is respected. From a Stoic perspective, this is virtue in practice. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." You don't tell her you've changed. You show her, quietly, consistently. Respect is rebuilt, not by trying to change her mind, but by mastering your own. When you redirect your energy back into yourself, your work, your purpose, your discipline, you create contrast. The man who once reacted emotionally now moves with patience. The man who once sought validation now walks in silence. That shift doesn't just restore attraction, it rebuilds respect at a deeper level. She begins to notice small things first: your slower replies, your composed tone, your focus on your goals instead of her attention. That's when her perception starts to change. You're no longer the man who needed her approval. You're the man who commands his own peace. This is the art of rebuilding respect, not through defiance, but through evolution. Respect is not something you demand. It's something you earn by aligning your behavior with your principles. When you act from self-control instead of reaction, you communicate strength without saying a word. And the beauty of Stoicism is that it teaches you this truth. You don't rebuild respect for her, you rebuild it for yourself. Because the moment you start respecting your own time, energy, and emotions, others naturally follow. Women, especially those emotionally intuitive, can feel when a man's energy has shifted from need to peace. When your silence stops being a tactic and becomes a way of life, she feels it. It unsettles her, not in a cruel way, but in a way that makes her reflect. She starts to remember the version of you that first attracted her, the composed, self-assured, grounded man. And that's when respect quietly returns. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." The same applies here. Don't waste your time trying to convince someone of your worth. Build a life that makes them remember it. So if she once looked at you with disappointment, don't chase her validation. Build your silence into strength. Build your distance into direction. Build your calm into command. Because respect isn't rebuilt when she comes back, it's rebuilt when you no longer need her to. If you feel that truth, type it below. I rebuild through action. Stay tuned, because next we'll explore the moment she starts regretting her silence and what truly makes her realize what she's lost. Number 7. The moment she starts regretting it. Every man who's ever been ignored knows this moment, the shift when she suddenly reaches out again. The text comes out of nowhere. The tone is softer. The curiosity returns. It's not coincidence, it's regret. But the reason she feels that regret isn't what you think. Women don't regret losing you because of what you said. They regret losing you because of what they feel when your energy disappears. When the man who once chased them stops chasing, when the warmth they took for granted turns into quiet confidence, that's when the regret begins. Let me show you how this really plays out. Paul, 58, had been casually seeing a woman named Laura, 54. At first, she seemed deeply interested, constant texts, long calls, late-night talks. Then, out of nowhere, she started pulling back. The calls stopped. The messages slowed. Eventually, she said, "I just need time to think." Paul didn't beg. He didn't push. He simply said, "I understand. Take your time." And then, nothing. For weeks, he stayed focused. He went back to his routine morning walks, gym work time with his grown kids. He didn't text, didn't post, didn't check in. 3 weeks later, Laura texted him, "Hey, stranger, I've been thinking about you." That right there, that's the moment. That's when the silence starts to echo louder than words. You see, when you pull away with calm confidence, she begins to feel a kind of emotional dissonance. Her mind tells her she was in control, that she could walk away, and you'd still be waiting. But her emotions, they tell a different story. They start whispering, what if he's really done? What if I lost something real? That gap between what she expected and what she feels, that's regret. The Stoics understood this kind of shift. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In your case, that means you don't react. You don't retaliate. You don't try to prove anything. You evolve. And your evolution becomes the mirror that makes her confront her own actions. The beauty of this moment is that it doesn't happen instantly. It takes time for her to sit with her silence, to miss the energy you used to give freely. The more you stay still, the more powerful that silence becomes. For Paul, the shift was clear. When they finally met for coffee again, Laura said, "I didn't expect you to just disappear." He smiled and replied, "I just stopped showing up where I wasn't appreciated." That one sentence hit her harder than any argument ever could, because it wasn't bitterness, it was peace. And peace is magnetic. Here's what you need to understand. Women are not drawn to anger. They're drawn to men who stay grounded when others would crumble. When you move on with quiet strength, you flip the dynamic. She starts chasing what she once dismissed. And whether she comes back or not, you've already won. Because the goal isn't to make her regret losing you. The goal is to become the kind of man whose absence is unforgettable. When you reach that point, her silence stops hurting, it starts serving you. Because every moment she spends thinking about what she lost only confirms what you've gained: peace, presence, and power. So when that message finally comes, and it will, don't gloat, don't rush, stay steady, smile. Because regret isn't something you force, it's something you earn by walking away with dignity. If you've ever felt that shift, write it below. I let regret find me. Stay tuned, because next we'll go deeper into the Stoic core of this power, how emotional control turns pain into calm and calm into magnetism. Number 8. The Stoic way to emotional control. Emotional control isn't about being numb. It's not about pretending you don't care or hiding what you feel. It's about mastering the gap, that tiny space between what happens to you and how you choose to respond. That's where your power lives. When she ignores you, when she pulls away, or when you feel that sting of rejection, your first reaction is almost always emotional. The heartbeat rises, your mind spins, and the urge to fix it kicks in. That's the moment where most men lose control. They start reacting, chasing, or saying things they regret later. But the Stoic man, he pauses, he observes, he breathes before he speaks. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And that line perfectly defines emotional control. The Stoic doesn't deny his emotions, he disciplines them. He uses reason as his compass. When you learn to hold that inner line, when you stop letting emotion dictate your actions, everything about you changes. Your tone softens, your movements slow, your presence sharpens. People notice. Women especially notice. Because emotional stillness is rare in a world that rewards constant reaction. Here's the truth. Emotional control is not built in moments of peace. It's forged in discomfort. In those moments when you want to text her, to call her, to demand answers, that's where your training begins. You don't suppress your feelings, you sit with them. You let them pass through you without letting them own you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That's not just philosophy, it's strategy. Every time you remind yourself of this truth, you take back authority over your emotions. A Stoic man isn't emotionless, he's emotionally anchored. When she's testing your patience, you don't need to prove anything. When she withdraws, you don't chase. When she disrespects your boundaries, you don't argue, you act. That's what separates a reactive man from a grounded one. Because here's what women feel but rarely say: they trust men who stay calm. Calmness feels like safety, and safety feels like attraction. The moment you lose emotional control, you stop being her rock and start being her reflection, mirroring her emotions instead of mastering your own. You don't have to be cold or detached. You can feel deeply but channel that energy inward. Use the frustration to improve yourself. Use the silence to regain focus. Use rejection as redirection. That's the Stoic transformation. Pain becomes purpose, emotion becomes energy, and silence becomes strength. When you master emotional control, you become unshakable. You're not ruled by validation, you're not distracted by attention, and you're not broken by distance. You operate from peace, and peace to a woman is power. Seneca said it best: "He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior." Remember that. Every man can conquer others, but few can conquer their reactions. And that's the kind of strength that commands quiet respect. So the next time she tests you, remember, her silence is not a challenge, it's your training ground. Stay calm, stay present, stay powerful. If you feel that truth, comment below, I master myself first. Stay with me because next we'll explore the final step in this Stoic shift, how to transform silence into strength and make your peace impossible to ignore. Number 9. When your presence speaks louder than words. There comes a moment when words no longer matter, when silence, posture and energy say everything she needs to hear. That's when your presence starts speaking for you. And believe me, that's when she really starts to feel you again. Let's talk about what that looks like in real life. Tom, 57, had spent months trying to rebuild himself after his ex, Lisa, 55, pulled away. At first he wanted closure, long talks, explanations, answers. But he realized something: every time he tried to talk, he felt smaller. Every word came from a place of trying to be understood, not from strength. So he stopped talking. Not in anger, but in presence. He got back to his rhythm. He worked out early, went hiking on weekends, started volunteering at a local veterans center. His posture changed. His face softened. His tone slowed down. He wasn't performing calmness, he was calmness. Months later, he ran into Lisa at a friend's dinner party. She smiled nervously, said hello, and started making small talk. But what hit her wasn't what he said, it was the energy he carried. He wasn't bitter, he wasn't desperate, he wasn't trying to prove a thing. His presence was steady, grounded, unbothered. And that's what caught her attention all over again. You see, women might hear your words, but they feel your presence. They can sense when your calm is real and when it's a mask. When it's grounded in self-respect, they can't help but lean in. Because in a world where most men crumble at rejection, stillness becomes power. Presence is not about dominance, it's about depth. It's about being so centered in who you are that nothing external can shake your inner peace. When a woman feels that, she begins to question everything. She starts wondering, how did he get like that? Why does he seem lighter now? That curiosity is attraction reborn. From a Stoic perspective, this is the pure embodiment of mastery. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Your presence reflects your inner world. If your thoughts are calm, disciplined, and self-assured, that's exactly what others will feel from you. But if your mind is restless, needy, and reactive, your body will betray you. That's why your work is always internal first. You train your thoughts and your presence naturally transforms. Tom didn't need to tell Lisa he'd changed. She could feel it in the way he listened, in the way he smiled without expectation, in the way he walked away from the conversation with quiet certainty. That's the kind of energy women remember long after the words fade. So here's the truth: if you want your presence to speak louder than words, you have to earn that silence. You have to sit through the discomfort, face yourself honestly, and rebuild your self-worth from the inside out. No amount of charm can replace that. Women are drawn to grounded energy because it's rare. When you walk into a room with peace in your chest and purpose in your step, you don't have to say much. She'll notice. Everyone will. And that's the ultimate power: not to be loud, not to be convincing, but to be felt. When your silence carries strength, your presence becomes unforgettable. It's not about chasing or proving anymore. It's about being. So when she finally sees you again, she might not say it out loud, but trust me, she'll feel it. If this truth hits you deep, write it below. My presence speaks for me. Stick with me, because next we'll close this journey with the final step: how silence turns into strength, and strength turns into peace that can't be taken away. Number 10. The final lesson: be the silence she can't escape. There's a kind of silence that doesn't push people away. It pulls them in. It's not cold. It's not angry. It's calm, complete, and powerful. It's the kind of silence that lingers in someone's mind long after you've walked away. That's the silence you must become. When a woman ignores you, she expects you to react, to prove, to chase, to beg. That's what most men do. They try to fill the silence with noise. But a Stoic man understands that silence is not emptiness, it's presence. It's the sound of someone who doesn't need to be understood to know his worth. This is where your true transformation begins, when you stop using silence as a tactic and start living it as truth. In that space of stillness, you learn to let the noise of the world fade. You stop waiting for her messages. You stop replaying conversations. You stop bargaining with what already left. Instead, you turn inward, to your breath, to your discipline, to your peace. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you become the silence, she can't escape. You're not controlling her, you're freeing yourself. You're no longer trapped by reaction, by anxiety, or by the need for closure. You've mastered the hardest thing a man can master, his own emotions. And that's what makes you unforgettable. Because here's the truth, a woman may forget the man who begged for her attention, but she'll never forget the one who walked away with quiet strength. She'll never forget the man who didn't try to change her mind, but instead changed himself. When she's alone at night, scrolling through her phone, she'll remember your calm. She'll wonder how you stayed centered. She'll feel the weight of your silence, not because you punished her, but because your energy no longer revolves around her. That's when your silence becomes magnetic. Not because it's a weapon, but because it's a reflection of self-control. The Stoic man doesn't run from pain, he refines it. Every moment of rejection becomes an opportunity to grow in composure. Every wave of loneliness becomes a test of focus, and every pause between words becomes a chance to regain power. You don't chase closure anymore, you are closure. You don't demand respect, you embody it. You don't seek validation, you radiate it. That's what it means to be the silence she can't escape. It's not about making her miss you. It's about becoming so grounded, so whole that no one's absence can disturb your peace. And when she finally realizes what she lost, she won't be haunted by your words, she'll be haunted by your calm. Because in a world full of noise, the quiet man who moves with purpose and patience is unforgettable. That's the final lesson. Don't speak to be heard. Don't chase to be seen. Just be calm, present, and unshakable. Because the silence of a man who knows his worth is louder than anything she's ever heard. In this video, we uncovered how silence, when mastered with calm and confidence, becomes your greatest strength. You've learned that ignoring isn't weakness, it's discipline, that emotional control rebuilds respect, and that true power comes from presence, not words. If you're ready to go deeper to master Stoic self-control, masculine energy, and emotional resilience, join the Stoic Brotherhood, our private community built for men who lead with strength and purpose. And if today's message resonated with you, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss what's next. Thank you for watching. Stay grounded, stay calm, and I'll see you tomorrow.